Hello everybody, I'm Cobbler Bob. This is my 1971 Cutlass S resto mod. Today's video is going to show you the glass, how I took it out, the mistakes I made, what I botched up removing the windshield, and what went well and not so well putting the windshield in so that maybe you can make an educated decision on how to have glass professionally installed or maybe do it yourself. Okay, so let's go. Okay, some of you guys have been following my project, and I'm really grateful for those of you that have comment and stuff like that. But long story short, I bought this car about 1.5 years ago. This would have been June of 2023. I thought I was buying a pretty rust-free car. Found there was a couple here and there around the car, the roof, like over in that corner, the passenger side, middle of the roof, a couple spots. Long story short, it had a sunroof as well, aftermarket ugly sunroof. I'll cut in pictures here. So I found some rust holes because I found rust on the floor. The rust on the floor was clearly leaking from the A-pillars, which meant I knew it came from the windshield. I drove this car home the first day I bought it, it rained. And I saw water dripping in from the corners of the window, so I knew there was rust around the windshield trim. Had no clue how bad it was. I wound up putting a whole new roof skin and brand new A-pillars, and then repainting the car, as you can see in a few of these quick shots here. So the point is, the bottom line is, number one, I had to remove the front windshield as well as the rear window. And in order to do that, you have to take off the trim. So obviously, after the metal work was done, I had to put a new front windshield in, reinstall. I did successfully remove the rear window, so that original glass is back in the car, and I put all the trim that I removed from the car back on. I'm not the fastest learner, guys. I'm just gonna be at least DOH, D for direct, O for open, H for honest. You know, if I'm really understand something well, I'll tell you. I'm not a glass expert, but I'm gonna at least tell you what went well and what I screwed up on the removal, as well as what didn't go so well on the install. So let me get to that point first. Let me turn the camera on and show you the only thing that's not, 100%. If this were a restoration car, you'd probably be upset, but for what I'm doing with it, I'm okay with it. But let me show you what I'm talking about. So first of all, the glass that I actually used, the glass itself isn't marked with a manufacturer, but this is the box I got it from Summit Racing Equipment. It's AMD, same manufacturers that made the roof skin and the A-pillars and the half floor pan that I put in. But the guy that installed the window said that it was really high quality glass. He said it was nice and thick. First of all, the front window is safety glass, but it's 2 layers of glass with a sheet of plastic in it. If you ever notice when a windshield gets cracked, and that crack spreads, you get, it cracks almost like a window does, right? Except the pieces don't fall out because that piece of laminate between the 2 layers holds everything in. So in other words, occupants don't get ejected from the vehicle. But the rear window, if you've ever shattered a side window or the rear window, are tempered glass. Tempered means heat treated, so it's harder, it's more durable, but if it breaks, boom, the whole thing explodes. In other words, you're not trying to hold contents in with it, but it is stronger. So I didn't know that. It's not as delicate as the front glass. So one of the things that I did learn is that one of the key things is you need the windshield channel where it sits to be in good physical condition. If there's structural compromises and there's flex, that could break your glass. Okay, not a problem because that's all new metal and it was welded in properly. Now, let me just jump straight into it and show you the only thing about the job, that I wasn't happy with. And that's right here. You can see blob of glue all the way across here. Now, of course, this channel there wasn't perfectly flat because I had to weld it all in. So maybe part of it was I need to do a better job with that. Let me go to the other side. And here on this side, it's squeezed out. I mean, a lot right there. It's all squeezed out over there too. So that's the main thing. And you can see when the light hits it just right, you get, so I'm not sure what I can do. One of my buddies had an idea of just maybe taking some black vinyl strip and putting it across there underneath this trim to cover that. But as far as having this whole roof skin off and I had to weld this in, this isn't perfect fit. That maybe could go over a little more. Maybe I can work on that with a trim clip, but I'm happy that this is level. I'll show you some tips on that. So that's okay. And we've kind of got, not as bad, but a similar situation here. You can see the glue kind of pushing out the rear window area there. Right, but the glass is in. Like I said, this trim, it's a little high here. That channel here was actually a little bit shallow, but this one I created. That side I purchased, but so the channel there was just a little bit shallow, I think is what caused that to be up. Not too much I can do, but this is not a restoration. I'm okay with it. But the glass is in. I'm really happy about that. So let me show you some of the stuff from the installation kit from rustreplace.com, and then get into why I think that happened. Maybe one of the other smart questions is, why would you want to take a windshield out yourself? My opinion, the way I looked at it is I wanted to remove the windshield myself and have a professional put it in. The reason I wanted to take it out myself was because the objective of removing the windshield was, again, to be able to repair the sheet metal underneath there, right? So I want to save money anywhere I can, but not at the expense of the outcome. But again, just being direct, open, and honest with you guys, not a show car. There's just some things my standards are not that high. So if it freaks you out that you can see the glue and I'm not ticked, I mean, I would have rather that it not show, where that trim is sticking up, but I'm okay with it. I mean, so point of this is not my standards. Point of this is teaching you guys so you know where you can save money yourself. Now, some of you may be thinking, window, what's the big deal? Just take it to a glass shop. I'm telling you, I called 3 different glass shops. Nobody would want to touch this car. So I didn't go any deeper than that. I knew somebody who was in the windshield business, who's actually, who was in the windshield business for many, many years. And I just, basically had this person come over and put the windows in last night in my car. So first of all, let me show you the work based on what I saw happen and based on the information from rustreplace.com. I think I'm able to teach you something about at least what you're going to be wanting to look for if you're getting glass put into your car. So here's my research binder. I'm putting all the stuff in here for all the stuff I'm doing to the car. So here's my windshield and glass section. So again, first thing he does is he has an article here that talks about evolution of stationaries, like how they put glass in according to, again, this author here, on rustreplace.com. There's basically butyl, which is like a tape, right? It looks like strip of tar, but it's a tape. And then there's urethane. Urethane is the glue. I'll show you. It's more commonly used nowadays, but urethane is this stuff that comes in a tube that you would probably be more familiar with, okay? This is what we used on mine, right? But according to this article, GM never used butyl. Apparently, urethane, short version, is better, has higher adhesive strength, and the butyl never really fully hardened, so the window can move over time and stuff like that in the heat. There's something called dam tape. I'll get to that he talks about, and I think I understand now why dam tape is important. Trim studs. If you replace the sheet metal, the roof skin, the A-pillars did not come with the little studs. They're little metal studs that are welded onto the body from the factory to hold the trim clips on. There's that style. There's another style. I'll show you both of those. Then there's this style, okay? So here's the 2 different styles. And I got these, I forget where, I'll put on the screen here who I purchased them from, but these are available from several different manufacturers. This is what I purchased. It was, what was holding the trim clips on, right? You'd be pulling this away from the body, flexing it away, which would release that edge there and let it come out, okay? And again, height is adjustable, right? The long story short, he goes through a formula and the glass thickness, but really the long story short to me is if you want, ideally, you want this top edge pretty flush with the painted surface, right? Like that's not bad, right? So for example, the channel was pretty deep here. We test fit the window. The channel was pretty deep here. So I spaced the ones here a little higher up, as in these pictures here. So they were spaced higher up, not flush with the bottom of the channel. And that's how I got this trim to be nice and flush. Now that also means you have to have the window itself a little higher up as well, right? Because if you have the glass way down low and the trim high, there'll be a big gap there, okay? Over here, those trim clips were flush down with the body. Now let me show you the rear. I mentioned this in the beginning quickly, but what happened here is I could not get the trim clips down low enough. So you can see here it's good, but here the clip is sticking up, and then now we have a gap here and we have the trim sticking up, okay? So it's not horrible, like I said, if this is a show car, I might be upset, but my standards are not that high. And here, this one's a little bit, there's one in here somewhere, it's a little bit, yeah, right here. It's a little bit too high. And again, it's nice and flush across the back. So that's what happens when your trim clips are not in the right spot. And again, it would have been very difficult to correct. I mean, I guess maybe what I could have done was cut that bottom lip off of the clips and set them down in more, but you want the top of that clip, in my books, approximately equal, maybe just, you know, a hair below the top surface of the sheet metal. So keep that in mind. So that like this, when you put your trim on, you know, it's nice and flush, okay? Now, so these are setting blocks, okay? And because when the glue is soft, you know, you need something to place the windshield. Although it's not 100% necessary, because once you set the window in and squish it down on the glue, it kind of stays. But you just take these, you can cut them with an X-Acto knife. You could use them, you know, this way. You could, you know, stand them up, you know, whatever you need to do, right? You could double them up if you had to. So those are pretty handy. But I'm also going to show you dam tape next. I also got this with the rustreplace.com windshield installation kit. Now here it is. You can see it's just, you know, some foamy tape is all it is, right? And it's got adhesive just on one side. But basically what you would do is you would take this tape and when you would put it on the back side of the glass all the way around as a dam. That's why it's called dam tape, D-A-M, right? Let me show you that in the instructions. So here you can see, there's the glass, the red is the quarter panel, right? Or it could be the roof. So then you see the dam tape, that foamy stuff. And what that does is that prevents the glue from gushing out. Here you see the setting block holding the glass up, and then you see the urethane squishy glue. There you see the trim stud. Okay, in my case, I use rivets. And then you see the clip, trim clip. So when the glass is spaced up properly, then it places the trim in the right spot as long as that clip is in the right spot. Now remember, you have a little bit of adjustment on those, one kind of the black ones that I showed you. You do have some adjustment on those. So that's how you want to get everything set. And again, you have it so that that top of that clip is just below the surface of the body and you're good to go. Now, I'm going to try to do what I call staying in my lane. I'm not a glass expert, so I don't want to become, you know, somebody who's teaching on something that I'm not an expert on. But let me just at least tell you the different methods that are presented to me and let you decide for yourself. So here he shows the dam tape on the bottom of the glass and putting the urethane bead, a nice tall V-shaped bead, on the back of the glass. I mean, you could put the glue on the glass or you can put the glue on the body, right? So in this case, if you did it this way, when the glass sets down onto the body, right, if my finger was the body, the glue would squish out, you know, would squish in, make a nice seal, and then would stop at this dam tape and would not come any further, so you would not see it like you do on my car, right? The excess would squish out. I think this is the better way to do it, I believe. So what I think you should do is, if you're picking a glass person, you should ask them, do you use dam tape, number one? First question, do you use urethane or butyl? I think urethane is better, it's stronger, doesn't move over time. So number one, do you use urethane glue? Number two, do you use dam tape? And I would ask question number three, do you place the glue on the frame of the body or onto the glass? He even shows you how to cut the tip so that you get a nice consistent bead. And what this ends up doing, if you follow his directions here, is you wind up with, if you follow his directions, you wind up with a tip that you place against the glass, and it makes a nice V so you get a consistent bead all the way across, right? So here you can see the glass with the dam tape. You just would have to dry fit, I think, in my opinion, you would dry fit the window, in other words, with no glue onto the body, and then maybe mark somehow with masking tape or something like that, you know, where you'd want that dam tape. Then, you know, you could place it on the glass. Then you have your setting blocks. And I think the setting blocks would actually go on the body, not the glass. But he also shows you where to put the trim studs, where they go on the body, which I followed that. First step is taking the trim off. Obviously, this piece of trim is over top of that one, so you want to take this one off. This trim is just held on with little clips that are riveted onto the body. So I'll remove it. I'll remove one of the pieces, show you how it's held on so you can get a better idea of what you're trying to achieve. Here's, I'm sure there's different kinds of tools, but see this tool here, windshield removal tool, kind of has a jog and offset in it. Then on each end it has a little hook, you know, shaped thing. And that even has a little bit of an angle to it too, if you can see that. So And there's generally here from the factory, I believe, 1, 2, 3 along there's one here nearer to the top, middle, and then closer down here to the bottom. There should be, like I said, 3 clips. But let's see if I can do this for you. And you want to get this under the trim, between the glass and trim, without breaking the glass is the key. Once you get it in there, you can feel it. I'm going to pull the handle up a little bit. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the hook to run along this edge of the trim. The trim is like this, and I'm going to run that hook till I feel it grab. And that's the hard part. There it is. And I should be able to pull. I can lift up. There's nothing but spring tension holding up this side, so I can lift it up to get that in there. I'm going to go from the bottom. I'm going to try from the bottom. And there I can feel the hook. This is not easy, and I'm not an expert at this, but I will explain to you the construction once I get this off. There we go. Got one. Now that it's off here, it pops up easier, and I can slide it in. It's going to be much easier to find the next one. And I can feel it there, I think. I know it's in the middle here somewhere. There it is. Okay, got it. That clip is holding it in. That's it. Okay. So what you're doing with this tool is, with the tool, you're trying to hook this edge and pull it away. You're trying to do it, hook this edge on there and pull this away so that it pops off. That's all you're trying to do. And by the way, in a minute I will cut in a picture, but you can see there's on mine. I was wrong. It's not 3. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 clips. But what I will do is I'll cut in a diagram. I'll also link it in the description to rustreplace.com that shows where the position of these is. And I did put these back in where the factory is supposed to put them. There you can see the clip, and what you're trying to do, like I said, is pull it away to release. Okay? So what holds that clip in, if you can see, is right there. In this case, it's a rivet. Okay? That rivet is a stud from the factory. I used rivets because I'm not going to go buy a welding stud gun. I just, like I said, use zinc-coated steel rivets, and I thought that was fine, especially for the limited amount of moisture this car will ever see. But where do you drill the hole? By the way, you got to drill that hole in the A-pillar or in the roof. You have to drill that hole before the glass goes in, because you can't, maybe you could with the glass in, but I wouldn't do it with the glass in. Drill those holes before the glass goes in. But where do you put them? Well, this way is not super critical, but again, rustreplace.com, linked in the description below, shows you where to put these. The critical part is up and down, but if you keep it pretty simple, let's look at this placement. Once again, trim. Here's the trim clip. The trim clip, again, is going to fit in like that. And you can see there's basically no space between this top edge of the clip and the inside edge of the trim. So basically, it's just where the top edge of this is, plus the thickness of the metal, which is like 30 thousandths. Wherever you put the top edge of that, plus 30 thousandths is where the top edge of the trim is going to be. What you really want is you want the trim kind of like this. You want it somewhat equal, level with, pretty much level with. Like this is just, you know, a little bit under, maybe, you know, a 32nd of an inch under. But you want it pretty much level with the surface. So what that means is you want the top edge of this clip, this top edge of the clip, you want it just a little bit underneath the surface, and that'll give you that. The next component then is you have to have the glass in the right spot. The glass does not fit against the ledge there. It's spaced out, and I'll show you that also. okay? But if it's way sunk down, then there'll be a gap here, and there won't be any tension on the bottom of the piece of trim. So glass can't be too high, glass can't be too low. Here's the tool that I use. There's a couple different ways to do it. There's a wire tool, but this is a knife, deluxe windshield removing tool. I got this, I'm in Northeast Ohio. I got this from A.L. Pavey paint store in Canton, Ohio. It's near the Strip, not too far from Belden Village. So here's kind of the idea with this tool. Big sturdy aluminum handle. That is the actual blade. It cuts on this edge or on that edge. Can you see? If I can show you. Get a better shot of the blade there. The way this works is this. Now it's got this handle, right? So obviously this blade is going to cut either in this direction or that direction. Well, it'd actually be like this. The way you would do this is you have to work this blade in. So you would have obviously the trim off, and then you would start with it like this and then cut into the urethane between the glass and the lip. Glass is like this, the lip is like this. There's a gap there because the glass does not sit on the lip, there's glue there. So you get that knife in under the glass. This is simple, not easy. Once you get it in there, then what you're basically doing is you're holding this with one hand and this with the other hand, and you're gonna pull. I'm not a terribly well-built guy, but I was able to do it. It is extremely difficult. I was huffing and puffing and sore the next day, but you just got to work it. It's an inch at a time, and you got to work your way around and use your core muscles, like use your abs, your stomach, and your legs, not just your biceps, especially if you're, like I said, not a terribly, well, muscular guy like me. Maybe you need a buddy to help you, bribe somebody with a case or half a case of beer or something, or say you'll take them out to Cane's for chicken sandwich afterwards, right? But that's what you do, and you just pull that through, and it took a while all the way around the glass. Here you're pulling down. Then when you get to the inside, flip it up under the glass, and you're gonna pull, and then you get it all separated, hopefully. Now, in my case, the main purpose for pulling out the windshield, as I said, is to repair the rust. Pulling the windshield out is the only real way that you can actually repair the metal here at the base of the windshield, the front of the dashboard where the windshield sits. And in my case, again, replace the entire roof skin and both full A-pillars. I took out the seam sealer through here, not horrible. Hole there, okay, but then all that is a big hole, and it was filled with Duraglass and more of that foam crap that they sprayed in there to spread Duraglass over. Unbelievable. Now here's where I'm at. This part is slightly frightening. So here's kind of the gist of it. We're going to be using urethane glue. So what happens is you have the glass here, dam tape. That's a little bit of foam tape to keep the glue from squishing out. And then there's going to be a V-shaped, I guess, bead of glue. And then you have these things called setting blocks. So let me show you the setting blocks. If you were to set the glass directly on the window channel there, obviously there'd be, too much of a space between the top of the window trim and then the body. You want that window trim flush with the body. Here's what that should look like. So you can see here the glass, you can see the window trim there. And then here, you can see that gray is the bead of urethane, right? The arrow's pointing to urethane. The dam tape to keep the glue from squishing out. And then there's the glass setting block. So let me show you the setting blocks here in reality. They would be cut down much smaller. Like it would just be a little strip of this, that little tiny strip would be turned sideways. So it'd be a fraction of size. But that's all it is, just a little block that spaces the glass up. And I need a thicker one here because I think the way AMD stamped the stamping, this is taller. So what happens is if you don't set your window up in there, like you see my wife and I set the windshield in here to see where the glass is going to lay. I mean, you can also get an idea by measuring, just measuring this too. But if you don't do that, then you could have a situation where the trim does not match with the body line at all. So what I'm doing now is, I'm very nervous, but I've got holes marked where I'm going to drill holes, and I think I'm going to use rivets, steel rivets, to hold on these trim clips. That little feature there hooks the trim, and then you can see it's got a little ramp on it, right? With little teeth on it. So, and then like here, it's kind of perfect. You see with that against the bottom, the trim is going to kind of be just barely proud of the you know, A-pillar. But if you look here, it's not bad there. But if you get to the middle, I guess it's not bad there either. Yeah, so we're in the ballpark. That's a little low, but yeah, I think we're going to be in the ballpark. But it might need to go a little higher here. Like, you know, there maybe, just a little bit higher. But again, you've got a little bit of adjustability with that ratcheting, you know, those holes. That worked really well. Only thing I figured out is after I did the first one, that should have slid up into the ramp. In other words, it should be like that. The bottom edge is flush the way I wanted it. Actually, and then what I did after I did the first one is, I thought I was gonna be able to pop it back off. But man, that thing is really tight in there. But I put grease inside the whole axle grease and behind the clip, help prevent some rust. But I think that's the way to do it. By the way, I know a little bit about rivets, believe it or not. I used them in engineering before. On the right here, you can see a shorter rivet. These are all 1/8" rivets. With this one, obviously, shank is shorter. That one's got more reach. The shank is longer. That one's aluminum. If you can tell by the color, these two are zinc-plated steel. Obviously, the body of the car is steel, so I'd want steel on steel, not aluminum. You can get galvanic corrosion with aluminum, which is when electrons pass from, I forget which to which, but you know, can eat up that aluminum pretty fast. So I think steel would be the better choice, and zinc-plated steel is what I used. And I think they all went in nice, except one popped out. Good. And you can see they're not all the way, I don't know if you can tell, for example there, it's not all the way at the bottom, so I tried to get that top edge more even with the top. That one obviously popped out, I'll put that back in, but I think I'm in good shape. I'm happy. Before watching this, I don't think I would have ever wanted to put a windshield in myself, but I think now I definitely would do it myself. So key one here, you can see the black around the edge of the window. That is a primer. The primer is applied around the edge of the glass wherever the urethane glue is going to stick. You can see a close-up of it here, as well as to the frame of the car itself, again, wherever glue is going to touch. So you put that all the way around. Now again, you see here, this is a very big, wide, fat bead because he just cut the tip of the urethane tube off, just cut at an angle, rather than the way rustreplace.com shows to do it. And I've seen professionals with a gun do it, and I think that's going to give you that tall, narrow bead, which is going to also help mitigate excess glue and the glue squishing out. Putting the front windshield in, you rest it against the stops at the front and then lower it in, and you take one hand through the side window, the open side window, so you can lower the glass down in. So you put the bottom edge in first and then lay it down. So the back window, we did the opposite. With the back window, he said, especially because it's tempered, you don't want to run the window into the trim clips and scratch the glass or break it. We actually rested the top edge in and then rotated the bottom edge of the glass down to rest it on.
Reinstalling the clips hopefully is simple. You just don't want to scratch anything. Obviously there's some order, right? I just flip that over. And that should be it. And again, my spacing isn't perfect. I don't know if these may be a little bit bent, but that's kind of what you're shooting for, right? Now it's held on. All you got to do, like I said, is give it a wallop. And it should clip around those clips and stay on, okay? So again, I'm just elated that this car actually looks like a car again. It's been taken apart. It was apart for a year. Really happy with the way, considering, again, I've never done a roof skin. I've never done A-pillars on a car. It's been 20 years since I've painted an entire car. Yeah, the paint's got a lot of dirt in it. Like you can see dirt nibs there that I, need to sand out, wet sand out. I think most of those will come out. But the glasswork is solid. Like I said, the only downside is I think this is what happens when you put the glue on the body and don't use dam tape. I guess you could put the glue on the body and use a dam tape on the body, maybe. But I don't know. I think I see at least why. He shows that you put the glue on the glass and the dam tape on the glass, because then you have both of them right there together. I don't know if I have that much more to add to this. Please don't roast me too much. Like I said, that's why I kind of said in the beginning, this video is difficult for me because, what do we want as YouTubers? We want awesome, amazing stuff. And you know what I mean? Of course you want views. And my channel is monetized, but believe me, it's, I probably make less than minimum wage doing this. I do this and I release a couple, 3 videos a month because I love to do it. And one of the bigger motivators for me is if I can help others, because it was a real struggle to learn all these different things that I'm doing. It's a struggle learning these things. And it really juices me up if I can get knowledge out there that helps somebody else do it easier or less expensively, or not have to redo a job and things like that. Like if this were a show car, the glass would be coming back out. For me, again, it's a car I'm going to drive. It's a street car. I know it's never going to be nice enough. I knew before I painted it wasn't going to be nice enough to win any shows, or, I'll take it to car shows and stuff. But so I'm not terribly upset, but yeah, that, I'm going to have to do something to at least cover some of that. Maybe I'll just let the rear window slide. But like I said, I was hoping that this would just give you guys enough information and enough knowledge where you could maybe understand enough to do a better job. Because let me tell you one of the other challenges. I can tell you kind of what really doesn't work. What doesn't work is when you're a novice at this, like, I didn't know anything about windshields at all, zero, before doing this. So I go on a website and read. Then I have a guy come over who's done this for decades. You can't be the guy who's never done it and tell the guy who has done it how to do his job. That just doesn't work. I presented the dam tape. Nope, I've never used that before. We don't need it. And that was the end of the discussion. So at least with this video's information, maybe now you know enough to know why things are important. I try to be coachable, but it's never worked for me just to follow instructions without knowing why. Where do I push? Where do I not push? What's important? What isn't? I don't know. Maybe sometimes I wish I would just follow instructions more, and but
I didn't know enough to make an educated decision on this. So I'm satisfied but not happy with the result, I guess is where I'm at. And like I said, I'm hoping that this at least gives you enough understanding where you can now do a better job of picking a glass person and a method that actually fits your needs. I hope that makes sense. If you're using the butyl tape, I don't think you need the dam tape. If your urethane is being used, my opinion, now with my level of understanding, I think you do. I could be wrong on this. I'm not a glass expert, but I'm trying to share with you my experience so that helps somebody. Okay, I've got a lot of longer format videos. I got the entire build of this car documented. My channel, what is it about? I'm Cobbler Bob. My channel is about cobbling and cars. So the shoe/sartorial content, and there is the automotive content. I try to stay in my lane and not advise on things that I don't really understand. So hopefully you feel like I did a decent job of that. Like I said, please don't roast me too much in the comments. God bless you guys, and you guys have an amazing day.